Hi everyone, this is Armin Ellis from Exploration Institute. Today we're very lucky to have with us Oliver Steeds. Oliver is a true explorer and he has a number of projects right now that he's working on, and it's really good to have you with us today, Oliver. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oliver, your story of exploration starts in a very interesting way, I think at a very young age. Can you tell us about that and how you got started?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all explorers, and especially when we're kids. And for me, my first memory of being what I like to call an explorer, anyway, is when I learned about gravity. And I wasn't a particularly clever student. I was about age 5 or 6, I think. Or this is what my mother reminds me, anyway. And I didn't really understand it, so I decided to climb a tree with a brick and jump out of the tree with a brick to see who landed on the ground first. And apparently, what happened next was I was knocked out and had a massive gash in my head and rushed to hospital. When I finally came round, the doctors were all standing over me and my mother was there and she said, "What on earth are you doing?" So I explained, and I seem to remember that I was trying to work out gravity. And she gave me some good advice, she said, which I think is advice to all explorers, especially at that age. She said, one, never give up your exploring. It's all about trying to learn something new and discover, and you're going to make mistakes along the way. But really the key thing is that you need to be a bit more intelligent about it. Newton used an apple, he didn't use a brick. So I've learned a lot, I think, since those first days of jumping out of trees with bricks. And I still do it, but in slightly different ways.
Great. So, and then, so from there, your story kind of develops a little bit, and you go on to.
Yeah, my first expedition was in Mongolia and China, and I was researching the Grass Silk Road. Went from Genghis Khan's capital city in the center of Mongolia, a place called Haren, to Yuan Shangdu, that became more famous, I suppose, by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, the English Romantic poet, who renamed it Xanadu. So I was tracing this route, which went from from these two great capitals, and at its the most important point, I think, during the Mongolian Empire, when the empire stretched from the South China Seas all the way to the river Danube. It was at its time the greatest communication highway ever. At its time, to link these two great cities together. So I was researching the archaeological significance of this road, this route, trying to find out what archaeological remains there were. It was my first expedition, so nothing really went to plan. It was probably one of the worst organized expeditions, I think, that were ever mounted. We started off on horseback. No one really knew how to ride horses. We were held hostage for a little bit by a bunch of thugs. We had some of our horses stolen. We then got to the edge of the Gobi Desert and we had to part exchange our horses to camels. We only got a couple of pretty ranky old camels for our trouble. We ended up having to walk across the Gobi, which wasn't our plan. That ended up being about 1,500 kilometers or so. And then we ran out of food and water. We ended up being imprisoned down on the Chinese-Mongolian border, where the local guards there thought we were spies. Quite ironic, because we were just a bunch of useless students, really. But the dream of exploration really began there, I think, for me, at its deepest level. And a particular moment where I walked off, I did the thing that every leader should always do in these situations when everything is against you, is to leave your team. So that's what I did. I left my team in the middle of the desert and decided to walk to the Chinese border by myself, which is about 150 miles. Particularly stupid thing to do, because I managed to run out of food and water. I got lost in some mountains where there were wolves howling, and I collapsed, and I thought that was the end. But it was actually at that moment when I came round, and I thought, hold on a minute, this is a particularly bad situation that I've got myself in. And I was rather melodramatic. I thought, geez, what am I going to do if I get to the old pearly gates? What am I really going to be able to say for myself? What have I really contributed to the world? And then I realized, I think, in a bit of a melodramatic moment, that exploration really is the basis of our progression. I was trying to work out what meaning and place I had in the world, I suppose, and that's when I realized it is exploration for me, and I believe that exploration can and must drive our progress, and the great explorers always have. They've transformed our relationship to ourselves, to our environment, to the world around us, and to each other, and they've pioneered and progressed who we are, I think, and yeah, if I can make a very small contribution in any little way like that, then that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, what's your definition of exploration?
Good question. I mean, I have lots of different definitions of exploration. On one level, I think we're all explorers because we all have something new to learn. But I think that's where for me, that's its root, is the discovery of new knowledge. And that new knowledge can have application or use to a person, to an individual, or to a community, to a nation, or to the entire world. But it starts, in my mind, with that. We discover something new, and that new knowledge helps us to progress our understanding of who we are, and it transforms our relationship and enables us to progress. And in today's world, I think the principles of exploration that enable those things to occur are, yes, it's about that discovery of new knowledge, but it's also about the communication of that knowledge and then having impact with that knowledge. We're no longer in a position where we can discover something new and stick it in a box and that's the end of it. We need this new knowledge because we're at a fundamentally critical time in our development.
So what's the role of education in exploration? Because it sounds to me, and a lot of other people who are excited about exploration, is that it's not just the act of exploring and finding new things for yourself, but a lot of it has also to do with the connotations for the greater world and what you can do to pass on that knowledge to others as well. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's a great challenge, and I think there's a great opportunity that we're in at the moment because of the technology that's available to us. To be able to share a journey, if you are on a journey of 1, 2, 10, 50, 100 people, but make that a gateway for learning for millions and millions of people. The technology now enables us to do that. And that education can be curriculum linked for young people, but it can have a far wider application. For example, with the ocean, I think there's a greater need to have a deeper understanding of the ocean and a greater sense of our ocean. And that, I suppose, is the development of our ocean literacy, which is a form of education. So for me, exploration is also about communication and engagement and having impact with that, whether that's through the traditional means of education to young people or to communities or to the world.
So tell us a little bit about Digital Explorer. Where did the idea come from? What is that platform, and where do you hope to go with it?
Digital Explorer brings the world to the classroom, and it was started by my dear friend Jamie Buchanan Dunlop, and I help a little bit where I can. But the idea there was from taking our own expeditions and journeys and realizing, well, we are reaching a few people with these things, with our journeys. And we might be making films that might be broadcast to a few people, but how can we actually turn what we're doing or what other scientists and journalists and or anybody who's working on the front lines of knowledge, the front lines of our changing world, how can they share what they're doing and bring it live, often live into classrooms around the world? That's what we're trying to do. And we do that from the four corners of the world. We've had expeditions and scientists working on coral reefs in Timor, to the Arctic, to Antarctica, to the jungles, to underwater. We've had live lessons and all sorts of things like that. So it's a combination of finding ways to bring the world direct into classrooms. And that's through educational resources, but also through live interaction using Skype, using Google, using other platforms.
Can anyone get involved with Digital Explorer?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a website, it's digitalexplorer.com, and all the resources and everything are up there. Everything's free. That's our approach to it. We believe that it has to have free access to everybody. And there are different resources for different people coming to it. So if you're a teacher, you can go onto the site and you can see, all right, these are the resources for these particular subject areas, whether it's for coral reefs, whether it's for climate, whether it's for culture. And you can download those resources, or the lesson plans. They're all curriculum linked. And then there are different opportunities throughout the year for live interaction with scientists or with other teachers, or pioneering journeys of exploration and scientific inquiry that are going on around the world.
Outstanding. So tell us about your next project, Project Twilight.
Project Twilight is, wow. It's taken me, it's my big dream, I suppose, on one level. And we're 3 years into this great project. And our mission on one level, I suppose, if it doesn't sound too overground, it does sound overground, there's no way around it, is to create a kind of NASA for the oceans. I believe that the greatest frontier that humanity faces right now is the deep ocean. It's the last great wilderness that we have on our planet. and it is critically important to us for all sorts of different reasons. For our climate, for the amount of protein in the food that our oceans produce, to the resources that are down there, and to how the ocean regulates the chemistry of our planet. All these things are linked and often driven by our deep ocean. And it's the most unknown, undiscovered part of our planet. And yet it is the biggest part of our planet. It represents 95% of our biosphere. And now, like never before, we really need to get down there and really understand what is happening to it, and to understand it on one level from a scientific point of view. But on another level, there is a massive collective action problem that we on the planet face with our relationship to the ocean. We're disconnected from the ocean. There are some wonderful, extraordinary, great people out there telling amazing stories about the ocean, but it's not cutting through. It's not that knowledge, that information, those stories are not transforming our relationship to the ocean at the level that it needs to, where we can affect political, legal, economic decisions which will determine our future. So we need some major intervention on the scale of the space race, I think, to captivate people's interest and their awareness about the deep ocean. And what better way than through a new age of exploration, a golden age of discovery down into the deep, where we can start to find a way to reconnect humanity to the ocean. I believe that the only way we're going to do that is not through robots. I think ROVs and AUVs have a really valuable, contribution to make, and we need new armadas of them down there to help on the collection of science. But fundamentally, if we want to reconnect people with the ocean, mankind needs to be at the center of our journey of exploration. And the only way that's going to happen is if mankind is encapsulated in submersibles, in HOVs, and human-operated vehicles. So, the idea is to launch a new era of exploration in manned submersibles into the deep ocean. And we're going to start with the Twilight Zone, so 100 meters down to 1,000 meters. It's the edge of technology for a lot of this new emerging breed of really sexy-looking, captivating craft that I hope will become the shuttles of this new era.
Mm-hmm. So, how does Project Twilight proceed from this point on? So the vision is very powerful, but how does this manifest itself into exploring the oceans from this point on?
We've got 5 missions over 5 years in 5 oceans. We're looking to start in 2016 with our first mission in Bermuda and in the North Atlantic off the coast of the United States. And then after them, we've got different projects in different oceans. And we have scientific partners, technology partners, and media partners. And we're always looking for more. So if anyone is interested, please do get in touch. Probably best get in touch with digitalexplorer.com. You can find my details and our details on there. We have different goals, I suppose, for different elements of the project. From a scientific point of view, the focus is to look at complex deep sea habitats, which are a critical indicator of change in the deep ocean. So we'll be looking at those and creating a new deep ocean baseline about what is happening to our ocean. Then from an engagement point of view, TV series, there'll be a lot of online activity that people will be able to participate in, dedicated websites, social media campaigns and apps, usual kind of stuff. And then we're going to have an expansion of the Oceans Academy that you can see on Digital Explorer at the moment. That's going to become an international Oceans Academy, major new oceans educational program that will be partnering with leading marine institutions around the world.
Outstanding. Will there be more opportunities as the project continues to mature for people to participate and possibly to donate to the project for a long-term sustained set of activities?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that will be our goal. I mean, our goal from an exploration point of view is to create a mechanism, a vehicle where we can fund ourselves, that we don't have to keep on going back to our grant givers or to philanthropists or to corporate sponsors, but we can start to create something that generates value. And I believe that the value that we can create is through unique proprietary media, and through the associated revenue that can come from sponsors and for anyone else who wants to be associated with it. So there's going to be lots of different opportunities for people to invest and to support what we're doing. But ultimately, we are a charitable organization, and we want to set it up as a kind of a NASA for the Oceans, but an international UN version of NASA for the Oceans. Scientists of all nations are available, will be invited to participate through an RFP process, which we manage through our International Scientific Steering Board. And then everyone around the world will be invited to participate in different ways. And yeah, this isn't about me. It's not about you. It's not about a community of us. This is about all of us, because fundamentally the ocean unites all of us, and we have a small opportunity, a small window where we can make a difference with our ocean. We need everyone to get behind it. And fundamentally, I believe that people are only going to really want to support and love and want to support and be interested in the ocean if they love it. If they love it, we've got to create that awe and inspiration, as the great journeys of exploration have done in the past. But it's from a position of love and wonder and respect that we need to start. And I always hark back to Martin Luther King, the great man, who said, "I have a dream." He didn't say, "I have a nightmare." So we don't want to be talking to people about the nightmare which is on around us. It is. We know it's happening. Yes, we need to make those points and we need to reveal what is happening. But ultimately, if we want to change something, it needs to come from a positive, affirmative place about why we want to do it. And that's our dream. And that involves mass participation.
Couldn't agree with you more there. Now, there's a story why Bermuda is the location of your first expedition. Could you share that idea with us?
Yeah, I mean, Bermuda was where it all began for deep ocean exploration. The first time mankind descended into the deep ocean was in Bermuda in 1930 to 1934 with William Beebe and Otis Barton in a bathysphere. That's where the journey began. I think it's only right for us to return to that point of departure and see what they saw. See how they took some footage there. They took some photographs. They made some sketches. There's some audio recordings. The first live audio recording from the deep was broadcast by NBC live in 1934 from the deep water off Bermuda. So there's so many inspiring reasons why we need to go back, I think, and for people to understand the extraordinary story of deep ocean exploration. And yes, it goes back a bit further. There are others who've been down in other machinery, but that is where it really began. And then it was obviously a bit later with Don Walsh and Jacques Picard in 1960, where they went down to full ocean depth. That is nearly 11,000 meters down, where the pressure down there is 1,100 atmospheres. It's extraordinary. It's a hugely hostile environment, and it wasn't until 2012 when Jim Cameron went down again that mankind ever went down again. So it is hugely unknown to us, and where better place to start than Bermuda? Plus, it's nice and sunny most of the time, unless you get hit by a hurricane.
So, when are you hoping to start the first of the expeditions?
In 2016, before the hurricane season, so before September. October is kind of when it kind of starts over there, but we're looking to be there August 2016.
Outstanding. So I encourage every viewer to check out Digital Explorer and to follow you there. And best of luck with all the exciting projects you're involved with right now. Hope we can keep in touch and do more interviews as your project continues to evolve.
Thank you. I'd love to. We'll keep in touch. You heard it here first. No one else. I've actually never talked about it publicly. This is the first time.
Outstanding. So, Exploration Institute first.
Take care.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Oliver.